Hi there everyone, I'm Mary Sturgill and I want to welcome you to this edition of Carolina Crescent. This is the online magazine that celebrates life in the mountain regions of North and South Carolina. The Carolina Crescent spans from Asheville down to Spartanburg, over to Greenville, and then over to Anderson, and it just skirts the edge of the Nantahala National Forest back up to Asheville. This region is a place of resiliency that gives way to lots of outdoor recreation. It's a place of conservation and innovation, and it's also a place of community and culture. And today I'm coming to you from the Furman University campus, and the reason I'm here is because we're sitting down to talk with one of its graduates, Mike McConnell. Mike McConnell served as the Vice Admiral of the Navy. He went on to serve as the Director of the National Security Agency and the Director of National Intelligence. In that capacity, he has traveled all over the world, but he's choosing to come home, back home, I should say, to the Carolina Crescent. Our Patrick McMillan sat down with him to talk about why he chose to come back home. Here's some of their conversation.
Thank you, Mary. Well, Mike, thank you for joining us today. With all the places you've been in the world, this fascinating life that you've lived, you decided to come back here. You decided to come back home. What was it about this place that really drew you back?
Well, I was born here, of course, graduated from Furman, joined the Navy, all over the world. Washington for an extended period of time. Had the privilege of serving as the Director of National Intelligence. So I was in the White House, 7 days a week. Briefed the President every morning. And it was all pretty exciting, but you never forget this place. You never forget the beauty, the people, the opportunity. So always in the back of my mind, wherever I was, from New Zealand to Japan to the Persian Gulf to Spain, I could never get out of my mind coming home. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, coming home. And your reasons for coming to this part of the world really are deeper than just that connection that you and I both feel to the mountains and to the Appalachians. They go beyond that to what this area has to offer really for sustaining life and for security.
Indeed. First of all, most people don't think about this, but navies tend to operate near the equator. And what I learned as a Navy person is I don't care much for really hot places. And I lived in a number of hot places. I lived in Bahrain in the Persian Gulf for a couple of years. What I always remembered about the Greenville area, I grew up in Greenville, and to escape to an incredible feeling was to go to the mountains. Just drive a few miles and you're in the mountains. So that was always sticking in my memory. It's the green, it's the freshness, it's the waterfall and the clear water. And so as I was in the military, intelligence officer, my job was to win the Cold War, so that was what I was focused on. But I saw a lot of things in the world. Usually if there's a crisis, the first question, where are the carriers? Because you got to respond to it. And so I did see a lot of strife. I was in Vietnam. And as we responded to events around the world, I thought about where do you find a place that is pleasant, there's opportunity, there's sustainment, and it's just pure beauty. And it's always been this place. So that's how I'm thinking about it. It's secure, there's opportunity, and there's friendly people, and just a beautiful vista. And oh, by the way, a wonderful climate. It runs from basically Asheville to Spartanburg, over to Anderson, down to Greenville. And I never forgot that. And so I actually read about it, looked at it, and there is truly a microclimate. I think you're probably an expert on that.
Yeah, the Southern Blue Ridge Escarpment ecoregion, we call it in science.
Exactly right. And I think I want to be one of your students so I can learn more about it. But it's just pleasant and safe and secure. I worry currently, my specialty, my focus is on cybersecurity. When I had the privilege of serving as the Director of the National Security Agency, most people know the NSA, the National Security Agency, is breaking code, reading the other guy's mail. Well, the NSA has another mission. It's called making code. It's keeping the bad guys from reading our mail. And as we transition from the old world of communications to the internet and network societies, what I realized, and this goes back to my education at Furman, I'm majored in economics, we have become digitally dependent. Banking today, and nobody does banking with paper anymore. It's all electronic, and so wealth is stored as ones and zeros. A comment I use when I'm speaking to an audience: our economy is $19 trillion a year. Most people are amazed that $14 trillion a year moves through the global banking system. It's all digital.
Wow.
Of the 14 trillion, half of it's cleared in New York City, and 80% of that half's cleared by one bank. So, are we dependent on that one clearing system? I would say we are. So I've thought about our digital dependence and the insecurity of the fact that a nation state could interfere with our power grid, or interfere with our banking system, or our transportation system. And so when you think about mitigating that risk, and that's currently what I'm focused on. I work with the White House and some universities, and I'm still engaged in that. But this area offers an opportunity for sustainment and security in the right community, with a focus on maybe solar energy, cisterns to take care of water needs, a secure area that is it could be protected if necessary. I don't want to sound like I'm a survivalist and I'm worrying about that sort of thing, but why not have it all? Why not have a beautiful area and great community and great people and great jobs and educational opportunity, and be resilient at the same time? So that's how I think of this region.
Yeah, and what I call essentially a crucible of life through change, because this area supported life for so many eons through cataclysmic events.
I'm going to write that down.
It's a great,
crucible
you're welcome
of life.
to take it.
I love it. I love it. That's what I'll do.
You're welcome to take it. Well, welcome home. I know this place is the kind of place that you don't have to be from here to find it home very quickly, because something about these mountains is this sort of maternal comfort that you receive from them is infectious, and very quickly anybody comes and calls it home.
I'll tell you one anecdote. What I found as I traveled around the world, as I mentioned, I lived in a number of different countries. When I was a youngster, I was living in Japan, and I was working for a senior officer, and I got to know he and his wife. And they were from the northern part of the country. And she was looking, they were getting close to retirement, she was looking for the best place. And so I said, well, you should take a look at the area, Asheville, Greenville. It's got mountains and beautiful vista and so on. And she said, let me check. And so she went off to do research, and she came back in a week or so, and she said, I can't find anything wrong. I said, what do you mean? She said, everywhere else there's something wrong. There's snow, there's wind, there's hurricanes. She said, there's nothing wrong with this place. And that always sort of stuck with me. Here I'm being an advocate of coming to the area. This family's looking for a place, and I think they're located right up near Asheville today.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. We're so glad you're back home and
thank you.
Back in the crucible of life. So look forward to talking to you again in the near future. And Mary, we'll throw it back to you.
Thanks, Patrick, and thank you, Mike. What a great conversation. We hope that you enjoyed that. We're going to sit down again with Mr. McConnell and talk about the security the Carolina Crescent offers. Until next time, go out and enjoy the Crescent.